Hello guys, gals, non-binary pals, and waterfowls. It's me, Big Mike, back with another episode of Coffee with Big Mike. Now fam, this is a special episode. This episode was actually recorded about a year ago actually. So maybe you're thinking, why Big Mike did you wait so long to release this? And well, that's a bit of a story. Now, as I mentioned in one of my earlier videos, in the early part of 2022, my computer was dealing with some grounding issues. Now, unfortunately, my interview with Mika was the first interview to be affected by this. In fact, at the time, I didn't even know that was the reason behind what happened to this interview. So after I recorded the interview with Mika, I went back and listened to it, and I'm like, wow, this is hum. I can't release this. And sadly, these grounding issues would go on to affect two more of my interviews, and it would leave me not wanting to release them because of the poor quality that resulted. Now, fortunately, in the case of the Mika interview, the situation isn't nearly that bad. Now, with this interview, unfortunately developed a hum, which is very common if you know anything about grounding issues and its effect on audio recording. So unlike my other two, I feel like this one I'm able to clean this one up enough to where it's not perfect. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it is something that's listenable, I believe. So if you're a first-time viewer of my channel or my content, please don't come into this thinking this is how my content normally is. The quality is much higher than this normally. However, Mika Moonbeam is a phenomenal person. She's a phenomenal VTuber, and I do not want this to go to waste because she's not only those things, but she's a great friend of mine. Also, one final note, I just want to point out that this interview took place on December 27th, 2021. So some of the things you hear here may no longer be relevant, or they may be out of date. So kind of keep that in mind. And with that out of the way, thank you so much for watching my channel. I hope you enjoy this amazing interview with the lovely Mika Moonbeam. Hello guys, gals, and non-binary pals, it's Big Mike, and I want to welcome you to this episode of Coffee with Big Mike, the series where I sit down for a chat with some rather interesting and amazing people over a nice cup of coffee. Joining me today, all the way from Wales, is the wonderful Welsh Witch Vtuber Mika Moonbeam. Welcome Mika, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi everyone! Yeah, so excited to be here, Mike. So I'm Mika Moonbeam. I've been doing this for about 2.5 months, and yeah, a little bit lost, but this is why I'm here, Mike, because I want to find out all the inside information from you, you know?
So how are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm happy. I've got a cup of coffee, and we're sort of, it's the middle of the day for me, so I'm quite, you know, all a go. I've gone back to work, not that happy about that, but, you know, needs must, doesn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So you have any plans for the new year?
Yeah, sit at the house, go to sleep way too early, and yeah, no, I never do anything for New Year. It just used to when I was younger. Like my parents made a huge deal out of it, but now I'm older, I'm just like, yeah, great, fireworks, all right, enjoy yourself. I wasted another year of my life, all right, no problem. But how about you?
Oh, the same. Actually, New Year's just means I get to sleep in. And by sleeping in, I mean waking up at 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning. I normally wake up at 3:45, so, 6:30, 7, that's sleeping in for me. But, yeah.
Definitely.
For those who are unaware of Mika Moonbeam, or for my audience who are unaware of you, could you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, it's much about to tell the moment because I'm just sort of finding my footprint. But yeah, so I'm a VTuber. I started about 2.5 months ago, so just the end of October. This is all sort of, Mika is sort of like where I'm using to explore myself, explore the fun things that I want to do. But it's also a place where I can just basically jump on, talk to some fun people and play some games, because it's literally been about 4 or 5 years of my life. My life's been turned upside down a bit, and I have had no time to play games. So this is my excuse for actually physically playing games and enjoying myself for a bit. You know, it's something that I've had a huge amount of excitement for. And, I'm very, very active on Twitter. I love just posting stupid stuff on Twitter and getting sort of you guys' reaction. But I'm just trying to make a way for myself. I don't know where I'm going to be in the next couple of months, but obviously people seem to really enjoy my sort of content. Like, just hit 1,000 followers on Twitter and stuff. So I'm just really excited for what the future's going to hold. People obviously seem to like Mika in some sort of way.
I really relate to that, actually. That really hits quite close to home to me. Especially the gaming aspect. Before I got into all of this, I used to kind of go in seasons. Like, usually the summer months, I would play a lot of games. And other times of the year, maybe I'd pick up a controller, maybe for about an hour or so on the weekend, or maybe 2 or 3 times a month, perhaps. But now that I've got into, YouTubing or Vtubing, it's kept me more playing games.
Yeah, well, I've noticed that, a lot on your YouTube channel do a huge amount of things with indie games. I just haven't had a chance to even think about playing any indie games, but it's so cool. And, I think, this is my opportunity to play the cool things, play the things that I have to do something in the hour I'm streaming. So, might as well do something really cool and something I love. So, I think it's great what you're doing with the indie game showcases. I think it's really good to get these sort of new names in indie games out there. It's obviously such a horrifically difficult profession to get into and get your game noticed,
I have a bit of an interesting connection with many indie art forms, and so I've always been a big supporter of indie film. Well, not always, but since my teenage years, since my high school years, I was a huge supporter in indie film. And recently, I would say this past year, I got really into indie game. And what I really like about these art forms is that really anything is possible. It's not limited by what you can or what's going to be profitable, but it's only limited by the creators or the developers' imagination and what they're able to produce due to budget limitations and such. So that's what I like. I feel like it's a much more authentic art form, and I found so many wonderful games. So far I've made videos on Gravity Runner, on Superstar Shooter 16, but there's so many others out there. And I would say most of my most anticipated games for 2022, all of my anticipated games are indie games. The first one being Brock the Investigator.
It's so cool. I think you hit on the huge point there, because I'll probably talk about this a bit later, but I come from a very sort of musical, contemporary music background. And I've worked with a lot of contemporary dancing groups. Not dancing, I can't dance. But it's the same sort of thing. It's what makes you profit at the end of the day. And it's great to see when you can just have that complete creative output. Just do something that's just exciting, something that's fun, something that, is everything you've got in your creative brain without having to sort of, if you don't have to worry about that sort of element of profit or making the money on it. And I think these games, they're little gems, aren't they? These little sort of, you can see the creators obviously really enjoyed making it. They haven't had to worry about, is this going to make me money in the future? But then obviously some of these indie games blow up and they're amazing. And what was the one I was thinking of? It's completely escaped, but I think you're doing a great thing, by doing these YouTube videos, Mike. I really like. I've seen the Gravity Runner one. I haven't seen the other one yet, but I think it's really exciting. I definitely need to look more into it myself,
And that's one of the things that's kind of one of my missions. I want to promote these. I want more people to become aware of these, because there are many people, myself included, until just rather recently, are unaware of their existence. I mean, now, to be honest, they probably played an indie game, but they had no idea it was an indie game, much like myself. After I got into indie games, I sat down and I thought really hard about it. And I realized a lot of my favorite games in the past like 10 years, were indie games, like Slender the 8 Pages, Untitled Goose Game, Doki Doki Literature Club, all indie games.
Oh yeah, Doki was built off Wimpy, which is a really, really cool little sort of passion project, and it's like the programming language behind it is all based in JavaScript. I say this because I know, because I've made my own crummy little sort of like storyboards, sort of Japanese thing. It's awful. I'm never going to release it ever. But the way Doki Doki did it was just like completely blew things out of the water. And like you're saying, if they had the sort of £1 million budget to do it, Doki Doki wouldn't have come out in the same way, would it? I think that's the key. It's a passion project first and foremost,
And if it's something you would like to do, it's really, really not so difficult to do. Actually, I use the same engine that was used to create the Doki Doki Literature Club. It's a visual novel creation engine called Ren'Py. Very easy to learn. You'll actually pick up some Python along the way. And what's really cool is there's this hot waifu that teaches you what to do. Her name is Ren. And so...
Yeah, I know. I've used Ren'Py before. It's great. It was when I was first starting coding with Python, and that it's just an incredibly simple. I wouldn't say she's necessarily hot waifu, but yeah, she did tickle my pickle, if you know what I mean. But yeah, it does help when there's someone who's actually like, oh yeah, I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to listen to you telling me about this boring bit of code in here. But yeah, Ren'Py is so incredible what you can do with it. I built little things, but I never sort of jumped in and actually finished a project, if you know what I mean. I got some random sort of things in the back. I don't even know where those projects are now, but gotta love a bit of game dev, don't you?
Now, speaking of games, which type of game is your favorite? Or which genre is your favorite?
But it's funny because it's changed so much over the years, generally, I love something that is, very, very fast-paced, very, very simple, game-orientated things. Like, I played a lot of, like, League. So where you got obviously that's not simple, I know, but it's like you got a simple goal. You got to get over there and you got to break the crystal. Okay, great. Like I literally last night I've been playing quite a lot of Echo on the Oculus. And that's like a really simple, just frisbee, get the frisbee in the goal over there. I love something that's simple that you can sort of like, get better at. You can master it. It's something like that. I don't really like big story-based games. But then to say I've also loved like these big MMORPGs. One of the big ones that I've always played and always gone back to is RuneScape. Gotta love a bit of RuneScape. I've never sort of maxed my level or anything, but I've come pretty bloody close. And I've spent way too much time on it. And I'm thinking of bringing that into actually my Vtubing, so actually playing a bit of RuneScape and stuff. It's really hard to sort of nail down, right? This is the exact genre that I love. This is exactly what I want to play. Like I played JRPGs, I played, the classic sort of arcade games, which are fabulous, but that's a really tough question to start out, isn't it? Like, but what about you? How about you? Because obviously, I know you love all these indie games, but is this something that really sort of you absolutely sort of adore and will go back to and play again and again?
Well, that's an interesting question. Well, first and foremost, I would say I like, my favorite genres would be platformers, the original Sonic the Hedgehog series, also the original Super Mario Bros. Series, Donkey Kong Country series. But I like RPGs like Pokemon, Final Fantasy, and then I like a lot of racing games, but I like kart racers as opposed to standard racing games. Then I like beat 'em ups, like well, in the United States we call it Streets of Rage. I'm not sure what you guys called it in the UK. I think it's Bare Knuckle. I think you guys called it.
No, it's He called it Streets of Rage as well. Just I love Streets of Rage. My God, yeah.
And Golden Axe. Also, I love some puzzlers as well, like Columns, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Dr. Mario.
Oh my God, the Mean Bean Machine! You bring it back too much nostalgia here, Mike. I can't take it. Yeah, all those, and more. Amazing, yeah.
But since I started getting into indie games, I've kind of expanded. I've kind of expanded my horizon, so now I'm much more willing to pick up a first-person shooter, which, I did play. I did play some GoldenEye back in the day. But I was never really too heavily into it, and I never really did the missions. I just liked, fooling around. But
oh yeah.
I'm more willing to try new things now. And actually, a lot of the games that I told you about, are the games I play now, on a regular basis. So games like Gravity Runner, Superstar Shooter 16, Exo in the Starlight, Brock the Investigator. These are all games I come back to over and over again. And I would say definitely with Exo in the Starlight, that's like my comfort game. It's so atmospheric. It's so relaxing and soothing. The graphics are just very beautiful. The sound is very beautiful, and it's just about exploration of an alien planet. You pilot a drone, or like an android or like a robot, and you're trying to locate raw minerals like gold and iron ore. You're trying to catalog different flora and fauna, but also there was a race there of intelligent beings that went extinct for some reason, and you have to put the puzzle together, try to figure out what's going on, and get to the next section. But it's really my comfort game that I go to whenever I need a break away from everything in the world, because over the past couple of months with the global health situation, you can't go out and travel so much. So a game like that really serves the purpose well of escaping.
Well, yeah, I completely get that. Yeah, I was into No Man's Sky for such a long time. I could just sit there and just travel between planets, and I'd achieve nothing, but it was something that just relaxed you, And I think gamers get such a bad rep for, being sort of violent and sort of raging and stuff like that. But there is so much beauty in games. Like, I recently played Subnautica, which this is why when you were saying about just going around on the planet with finding an alien race, just going through this big storyline of Subnautica, but then also just floating around, just enjoying the sort of scenery. It's only really become possible within the last couple of generations of games because of graphics and everything else. And but I think it's finding that comfort in games, which is also it's really nice that you can do that now. I completely get it. I definitely want to check this game out as well. This sounds really cool.
Something else I want to ask you. One more question I want to ask you, and I do apologize. This is going to be another difficult question. But if you had to choose one game that's your favorite, which game do you think would be your favorite of all time?
Okay, I prepped for this because I know what this is. It's Disgaea. Have you heard of the Disgaea series? Disgaea depends on how it's pronounced everywhere else.
I'm not familiar with it. Can you tell me about it?
Oh man. So basically, if in one sentence you're talking about it's an isoperimetric game. So it's basically like chess with anime characters and insane graphics. So you get these insane attacks which you destroy the chessboard basically. It's got an amazing storyline to it. The first game is my absolute favourite, and that I go back to again and again. But there's now 6 in the series. I can't afford the newest one yet, because it's not out over here, so I can't ship it or anything. It could be stupidly expensive. But getting it as soon as it comes out over here, and if you imagine it, you've got the sort of elements of the sort of sort of classic JRPG sort of elements to it. So you have the sort of nice looking characters with this huge storyline. You know, but it's all based in hell. So this netherworld. This main character is like he's like the king of the netherworld, and but because he's been dead for so many years, people are trying to take over, and he's got to sort of assert his authority. And you play that guy, and it's hilarious storyline, really, really well done. But the strategy involved in the actual game is just absolute crazy. Some people take it to the sort of very next level where they sort of max out all the characters, and it's just such an insane community around it. You know, I haven't even scratched the surface, and it's literally something I could just go back to and just play day in, day out. Just play that game, and I'd be happy for the rest of my life. I genuinely say, go check it out because it is super cool. Ask me how to spell it though. Is it one for you? Because obviously you asked me the question, so I got to ask you the question back. Now, come on, what's your one game?
Sonic
is that
3
one
and
game?
Knuckles. Absolutely, no.
Yeah.
There's probably no exaggeration that I've completed that game thousands of times. Like I remember, even as a kid, like I was like 10 in 1998, so. Even by the time I turned 10, I probably completed that game, at least 1,000 times. And I've spent countless numbers of hours, days, probably weeks playing that game, even between the time I was 10 and the time now. Also, it's just there's something about that game. I love the locations. I love the story. I love the music. The music. It's my favorite soundtrack of all time when it comes to a game. The Donkey Kong Country 2 is a close second.
Yeah, I have a funny story about Donkey Kong Country because that game, I got to the end, right? Got to like the end sort of level, never ever completed it, but ended up throwing my Game Boy across the room and breaking it because I was that annoyed at the end of the game. Yeah, my big old yellow full battery Game Boy. Broke it. I was very sad. Luckily, that was once I'd already had, Game Boy Advance had come out and everything else. But I was going back to some retro time. I was like, yes, I'm actually going to complete Donkey Kong Country. And I never did, and I threw it. I regret it, of course, But it's one of those things. Oh no, I get you with Sonic. I love a good Sonic game. I've never been very good at it. Sonic at all. I've always loved it, but yeah, I can see how you could just replay Sonic games over and over. There's always a new way to go. There's always a faster way to go. I've just never been very good at the Sonic games, to be honest. I had like the classic Sonic games on the Mega Drive, and I'd play that for hours. But my other friends are a lot better at sort of retro games than me. I just like my button bashers, if you know what I mean.
Well, what I really like about it is not only do I like the vanilla games, but there exists such a phenomenal online mod community for the original Sonic Mega Drive or Genesis games. And so it's very easy to find hacks. Now, with Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the hacks are a bit more rare. More and more are starting to come out now. Sonic 1, Sonic 2. Oh, you can find so many hacks. And so many hacks that not just change like the layout, just the aesthetics, but hacks that put different characters, different play styles in the game. And so, one good example here is that you said you used to play on the Mega Drive, so maybe you're familiar with this. I tend to be a bit older than most of the other people in the VTuber community, so that's why I kind of talk like this. But Sonic and Knuckles had this lock-on thing where you could put Sonic 2 or Sonic 3 on top, and you could play as Knuckles in those games, whereas you couldn't in the vanilla version of Sonic 2 and Sonic 3. Well, they originally planned to do that for Sonic 1 as well, but the color they used for Knuckles kind of messed it up. It caused a glitch to happen, so they were never able to implement that. However, one of the first big character hacks was to put Knuckles into Sonic 1. And
right.
And since then, you can, if it's a Sonic character, even a non-Sonic character, you can. It's probably a good chance if they're big enough, they're classic enough, you can find them in a hack of Sonic 1 or Sonic 2.
I had no idea. I literally didn't have any idea that there was a mod community for that. I can imagine it, yeah, but obviously I'm not a huge Sonic fan myself, but I'll definitely look into it. I'll see what we can find, because I'm sure there's great. Like, I played like the recent Sonic games, which are quite good. I didn't mind there was one for PS4, the most recent one. So is it Sonic Heroes? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Yeah, that's I'd say fairly recent. I think maybe.
Yeah. That's I think the most recent one I've played. I enjoyed that. It was actually quite good. It wasn't like classic Sonic, but the bosses were quite fun. It was quite. You had to actually think a lot. That one. I think when I was younger, I played the what was it called? Oh, I can't remember it now. But it was a terrible Sonic game, and it didn't work, and it was just awful. I think they just developed it really, really quickly. What it's called now, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's in the past. You can get over it,
Now, to kind of shift gears a bit here, from games to VTubing. Who are some of your favorite VTubers?
Oh, see, now this is the thing. Before this year, I didn't even know VTubing was a thing. And I started watching Trash Taste. I'm sure you're familiar with Trash Taste. And then I started following Connor from Trash Taste and watching him then playing with Iron Mouse. And I became totally obsessed with Iron Mouse and Yanas. And basically, I was like, oh my god, if these people can sort of be crazy anime girls and streaming and talking online, I'm sure I can do exactly the same thing. And that's literally what's happened. This has literally been like a complete whirlwind romance with VTubing. The main people that I love watching is just basically Iron Mouse and Yanas. There is other sort of VTubers that I've sort of gone in and out of. I absolutely love Chibi Dorky. She's awesome. She's mental, and I love watching her YouTube videos. They're hilarious. And I think it's more sort of it's more like me finding my way. And I'm thinking, right, well, what do I actually want to be as a VTuber, and who does sort of something similar at the moment, and what games are they playing? So it's more me sort of like finding out a little bit more about the VTuber community. Like I never sort of watched VTubers when it was just like pure Japanese VTubers. Like I've seen Korone in loads of different things, and I've seen a couple of the others, but nothing huge, if you know what I mean. But it's obviously, I know, Mike, you're going to say, who's your favourite VTuber? It's going to be Mika Moonbeam, of course. We know this already. But is there people that who got you into VTubing? That sort of community.
Well, it's really hard for me to say who actually got me into VTubing. Some VTubers I liked. I like Project Melody. She had this sexy anime AI waifu girl. I kind of have a fan for AI waifus. Like I love Monica from Doki Doki Literature Club. She is bae for me. I love, her name escapes me at the moment, but I don't know if you've ever seen The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. I don't know if you've ever...
Yes, I have seen it, yeah. I can't remember much about it. It was such a long time ago.
There's a character on there, and her name escapes me at the moment. But her name escapes me at the moment. Yuki Nagato. Yeah.
Yuki, yeah. So
I have a thing for AI anime waifu, and so Project Melodies. She was this fun. She was this fun, happy-go-lucky, and she wasn't just a sexy waifu, a sexy anime girl. She's also very knowledgeable. Also, I liked Nux Taku as well.
Oh yeah, Nuxie.
Love
Nuxie.
He was a riot. It seemed like something far off for me. That's cool and everything, Michael, but that's something you can't really do. I imagine it took a lot of money. I've been using Twitter off and on every year, since 2009. And so I usually make a return to Twitter like every August, September for about a couple weeks or so. Because there's a huge event in the Sonic fan game community called Sage. And then when I returned this past year, I saw, not just the big people, like Project Melody, Iron Mouse, Fifi, but I saw a lot of small people being VTubers. And I was like, wow, this isn't just something for people, for other people. This is something that you and I could do. So that's kind of what got me into VTuber, that idea that anybody can do this. And honestly, I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today. VTubing is kind of taking on a life of its own, much like YouTubing. You can find VTubing for anything: coding, cooking, building stuff. And I think this is just the beginning. Now, as far as my favorite VTubers go, well, of course, it's going to be Mika Moonbeam, right?
Of course it is. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Also, I like Cena. Cena, the Outer Princess, Gaia, Earth Goddess.
I haven't seen her. I haven't heard of her. It's great. I'll have a look.
She has a phenomenal voice. She actually, if you saw my video on Gravity Runner, she did the voice of kind of the young person who had no idea what a cassette tape was.
Oh yeah. Oh right, okay then. Oh well, I'll definitely check it out. Absolutely, Mike.
And also, I would really hate myself if I didn't mention Sinphila, the Kitsune fox goddess. She was the first really, really big VTuber I got into. Or really, really big VTuber who actually interacted with me, I should say. And she actually gave me a lot of really helpful advice, and that's why I'm still here now. It's because of her.
That's fantastic, yeah. I actually forgot to mention someone who's like, I like seriously simple like all the time. Is Mary? I don't know if you heard of Mary. I've seen her on Twitter. She does a lot of the YouTube videos on how to be a VTuber. If you just literally search up how to be a VTuber, she's there. She's like super cool. And when I first started, I tweeted at her. I was like, "Oh my God, Mary, I'm gonna be exactly like you." And she tweeted back at me, and she talked to me back and forth now and then. And she's like so unassuming, and she's so sort of sincere. And I'm just so. I think that the big thing with me with a lot of these VTubers is if people are small, is understanding they're just real people behind it, and just realizing that these are people with issues and likes and dislikes. And I think quite a lot of people almost idolize the character so much that they forget that it is a real person. And I do the same. I'm the same, but I think like you're saying, VTubing is taking on such a world of its own, and these people are so there's a VTuber for everything, like you're saying. And I think it's become a way for people to express themselves in way I wasn't hugely confident before. I had Mika, and as soon as Mika's it's not me, it's my character, and I can just sort of become Mika, no problems. But being like my cell phone camera, like that was really difficult for me, and I could never quite come out of my comfort zone, if you know what I mean. But there's so many out there, isn't there now? There's so many.
Oh, and I would be really, really remiss if I didn't mention Abigail CM, who's a she's still small, but very phenomenal VTuber, awesome voice actor as well. Actually, if you ever get a chance to see my 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 freeloader gaming episode. You know, she does the voice. She does the voice for that.
Yeah, she's quite active on your Discord, isn't she? I think I do follow her on Twitter.
Oh, Twitter, I believe Twitter. You know, honestly, you know, yeah, I think Twitter. Like we talk a lot on Twitter because what really struck me about her was that she's the only. Well, she was not the only, but she's the first other VTuber I came across that's in the ska, or ska punk, I should say. And
Yeah.
also, I want to ask you, why did you get into VTubing?
Why? Oh, well, I know honestly, Mike, started off genuinely as a joke. A joke that me and my wife had, that at the set, because I kept on watching these VTubers day in, day out, mostly IMOs and Yanas, as I said, and she was like, oh, Ben, you can... Oh, I just told people my real name there. I've released it now. There we are. Fine, everyone knows I'm Ben. Didn't mean to do that. Oh my god. Well, you know first, Mike. All right, so let me just refresh that. I was talking to my wife, and she said, Mika, sort of, just you're a funny guy. You know, why don't you just jump on there, pretend to be a girl, and have a bit of a laugh with it? You know, you can make money on Twitch. And I was like, yeah, that'd be really, really funny. Did I ever think that Mika would actually become much more than that? No. I thought I'd be doing this for like a week or two and we'd be having a bit of a laugh with it. Maybe I'll stream a couple of games on Twitch. I wasn't prepared for how sort of, Mika, like without sort of going into too much right now, because I'm sure we'll talk about this later, but Mika was sort of all of a sudden became my sort of like inner feminine self, I sort of, obviously Mika is a girl, and I definitely call myself virtually trans. And it's been an incredible exploration of who I am, and from what started off as something that I thought would be, that's a bit fun, that's a bit of a fun thing to do. Let's have a little bit of play with some tech and see if I can get something working, up to actually becoming Mika, and Mika becoming like a huge part of my life. So it's been a bit of a journey, to be honest, Mike. Because I did used to actually have a Twitter and a YouTube years and years and years ago, about 7 or 8 years ago now. I've done quite well with it. I've got about 500 subscribers on YouTube, and I got like 1,500 followers on Twitter, and I did great. But then all of a sudden, sort of things sort of went dead. Nobody really cared about this like weird Welsh bloke, and I just seemed like I was just throwing out YouTube videos out there for. It obviously took me so long to edit and everything for like literally no reason. So I think finding Mika and finding this sort of like new sort of way of working with Twitch, a new way of a new audience who, and I think it's having the confidence to be the VTuber, she gives me confidence to game and just have fun, So it's been the best time of my life so far. I know that was a really sort of long-winded explanation, Mike, but I've done a name reveal. God, I didn't expect that.
You know what? There has to be millions of people named Ben. So I mean, it's...
Oh yeah, you definitely won't be able to find my own Twitch or Twitter or anything. So don't worry about that. I'm keeping that well hidden.
And this is coming from somebody whose name is Michael. And even if they knew my last name, there are over 2,000 people in the United States alone. I'm not sure in other English-speaking countries with the same combination of my first and last name. And so, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm very. I think I don't know whether this is lucky, but I'm actually the only person with my last name in the entire world.
Oh.
I got a very, very strange double-barreled name. I blame my wife, and she's half Yugoslavian, and she's got a really, really cool Yugoslavian name that I took on when I married her. Our double-barreled name, there isn't that surname anywhere else in the world. So if somebody knew that, they'd find me instantly on Facebook and be like, "Oh my God, look, it's Mika! Look how ugly she is." Or like you'd find me instantly. So it isn't much of a giveaway, is it? But you heard it here first. Let's be honest. There's very first to hear that, Mike.
So, what was the inspiration for your Welsh Witch character?
Oh, that's relatively an easy one because I was thinking of loads of different sort of VTuber personas. I was thinking of going down potentially like a techie route, like have like you're saying like the Vtuber AI sort of VTuber. Maybe you'd have said for me a bit more, Mike, if I'd have gone down the sort of sexy AI VTuber route. But no, like one of my big passions in real life is witchcraft and generally paganism, which I've picked up like in the last 5 years. And generally I was thinking, well, if there's going to be something relatively unique that I'm relatively good at, that I could sort of like share with communities, is actually myself being a witch. So I wanted, and obviously, cute anime witches is like, it's a super nice genre. I'm a sucker for a cute anime witch. Like Little Witch Academia. Oh my God, love it. But and that's sort of what sparked it. I was thinking, right, what can I actually do in the community? What something that I could contribute, and it's basically me being a pagan. Like there's loads of other things I can do and loads of other things that I love, but cute anime witch won out overall, to be honest. Interesting fact, I named myself after my cat. My cat's name is Mika. And I got a Mika and a Suki with my cats. And I named myself after my cat because I always feel that my cat is like my little familiar. Whenever I'm doing a spell or anything like that, for some reason the cat comes and sits on the mat or sits on the altar. And I'm like, well, no, it's true. She's my familiar now, So I named myself after the cat. It's really weird when my wife shouts out the house, "Mika, come on, food, Mika!" And I'm like, "What do you mean? Wait, what? You get someone talking to me?" So I guess confusing sometimes, but I gotta stick with it now, haven't I?
I have to ask, based on what I know about you, you weren't born into a family of witches. So, what was your spiritual journey like? How did you become a witch? I'm guessing that you didn't receive a letter from Hogwarts, right?
Oh yeah, I wish I'd received a letter from Hogwarts. It'd be much easier. God, the thing is, it's a real. We'll obviously cut the long story short, but my parents and my sort of closer family, they're all very sort of strict, as they say, born-again Christians. So if you're not familiar with that term, it basically, you're sort of a Protestant Christian who believes in Jesus and has accepted Jesus into your life. Now, I was the same until I was in my early 20s, and I was one of these people. I was leading these huge worship. I was like a worship leader, sitting on the piano, playing for hundreds of people. I did huge sort of conferences and did these led like work youth camps. I started looking at preaching, and I did a few little mini lectures, and well, not lectures, just a preaching, standing up in front of a couple of people. But it ended up that I was so overwhelmed by the entire thing. Without going into too much detail, basically, I felt that I couldn't follow the Bible 100%, because a lot of people are sort of what I call pick-a-mix Christians. If you're a pick-a-mix Christian, okay, I respect Christianity 100%. I respect whatever you want to believe. But for me personally, I couldn't sit there, believe half of the Bible and not believe the other half. I had to believe everything 100% and give it my all. Otherwise, I couldn't feel that I was a true Christian, so I ended up giving it up in the end. And sort of years down the line of sort of getting into much more sort of, the darker genres. So like I got into horror films in a massive way. I could then obviously play sort of 18+ plus games because I was really restricting myself. I didn't even sort of drink anything until I sort of stopped being a Christian, which was really stupid when I look back, and I'm just like, it's just alcohol. What's the thing, So there was a lot of things in my life that I discovered, and eventually, after years of doing research, I ended up getting involved in witchcraft, and I just literally was looking online one day and saw, basic sort of, protection spell, and I was like, oh, is that all it is? And I sort of related a lot of what I knew from Christianity to witchcraft. Things along the lines of just doing a basic spell is basically like you're praying. It's got a much more firm, much more a ritualistic element to it. Whereas, okay, in a church you might light a candle for someone. Well, it's basically what I would do on my altar at home. I would light a candle and I'd think about someone, or I'd maybe put a few herbs around it to make it smell nice, or maybe those herbs mean something to that person. And I think for me personally, the sort of correspondences with nature, sort of certain herbs meaning something, it just made so much more sense to me than just believing in the Bible and following the Bible, those sort of 10 Commandments of the Bible, and because it meant something, you sort of herbs. You put herbs in your tea, and that tea becomes powerful because of this. And instead of, I'm going to just preach Jesus, and I'm just going to make sure that, hopefully this thing tomorrow is going to go all right. It's like you've got more of a power in the relationship with spirituality than you are a Christian, because everything is sort of leaning on something. I much prefer to think of myself as, the God of my own life. I know that's a really sort of, that's general explanation of it, but because I know you do a lot with theology and philosophy, Mike. Have you had much people actually? Have you had any other people, like friends, who are into witchcraft or anything? Or am I sort of your first witch, if you know what I mean?
When one of my mother's good friends, she was into that. She was really into that, and she was kind of my de facto drinking buddy when I came home from university.
Oh yeah.
I'm from a rural area, and her husband was in a band, and he'd get paid to go play, and she didn't like to go, but my mom would love to go, and I'm not really into the rural culture. It's I don't want to get into politics, but I tend to be a bit too conservative for my taste, and I'm not really into country music either. And she kind of hated it, and so we'd sit at the bar and we drink and we discuss religion, we discuss philosophy, and stuff.
Yeah.
And also, one of my friends when I was in university, she was a witch as well, and I don't know too much about it. Well, she described herself as a Wiccan. I'm not sure if you would use those terms interchangeably or not. But what I do know is about the ethics, which was one of my interests of study when I was in university. And pretty much the golden rule in Wiccan is, as long as it hurts no one, do what you will. And I think that's a pretty good rule to live by, I think.
The thing is, it all depends on which route you go down. Wiccan, the thing is, I've done this for 5 years, but I'm still sort of a little bit, learning everything. Like, the thing is, the moment you stop learning, you're obviously not doing something right. I always think you've got to keep on learning, keep on moving forward. But generally, as I know, Wicca is basically a religion. Witchcraft is what we call the craft. So it sort of encompasses a lot of things, but it's not necessarily a religion. You can make it into religion. You can use certain deities. You can for certain things. You can follow a specific path, follow the Norse gods, the Egyptian gods, and those sort of things. But Wicca is like a very specific form of witchcraft. Witches are going to shout at me now. I believe this all built off from the rules of a society called the Golden Dawn, and basically they built up all these rules, and the Wicca that I know mostly is by a guy called, what's his first name? I can't remember what his first name is now. I'm a great witch, and but he basically built Gardnerian Wicca, and that is mostly what I follow. Like, so I follow a lot of the practices in Gardnerian Wicca, but I wouldn't call myself Wiccan. So to be Wiccan, you sort of basically have to be part of coven that is a Wiccan coven, and you have to move through that coven. These levels to go through for that coven. But I'm sure there are a lot of Wiccans out there who call themselves Wiccans and are not part of a coven. I call myself a solitary practitioner. Like, I don't practice something very specific. I sort of dabble myself in lots of different things. But I'm sure your friend in college might have actually been part of a coven that you had an initiation with, you became part, you grew with that coven sort of thing. But it's all incredibly interesting and crazy. But I think the thing that I like about witchcraft paganism mostly is that we're looking to ancient practices. We're like pre-Christianity practices. We look into sort of what was actually the things that really made sense back in those times. Why did people follow these things? And it's history behind why a certain herb is said to do certain things when you use it. That sort of like sparks my interest more than anything. And this ancient knowledge that's sort of generally been lost but trying to sort of recover. That's how I think about witchcraft anyway.
Does your family know? And if so, how do they take it?
That's interesting. My parents don't know. And there's a huge reason for that. It is because they basically would instantly label me as a devil worshipper, and they wouldn't understand it, and they might disown me. And I'm really worried about that actually physically happening. Because I need my family. I need my family around me. It's so difficult to hide something like that from my family. Like my extended family, no. My nan, my granddad, no. They're huge supporters of me. My nan literally watches my Twitch every day when I stream. It's hilarious. And she jumps on my Twitch all the time and encourages me. I love it a bit. But I know that my mum and dad would have a very difficult time just into that. And I don't think they would. So at the moment, it's all myself. No one knows about the future. At some point, it's going to come out. I've tried to sort of test the water with them a couple of times, saying like, "Oh, did you know that this year I'm doing a Yule log for Christmas? I'm wrapping up a load of things around the log and throwing it into the fire. The kids are enjoying it as well. Yeah, kids love doing it." And then they've been like, "Oh, be careful with that. You're going to be a devil worshipper." I'm like, "Oh, Mum, just calm down. It's fine. I'm not worshipping the devil. There's nothing to do with Judeo-Christianity in my practice." But I can't tell that yet, can I? It might get, it's actually coming to the point where I have to go back to work, which is really super sad. Because I'm really enjoying having a chat with you.
Yeah, it's been really fun. So I'll let you go. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being here. And it's been a pleasure. This time really has flown by. I'm gonna close the video out now, and if you want to stick around, feel free to. But if you have to go back to work, also feel free to leave. All right.
Yeah, you have to make money somehow, I think, don't you, Mike? Yeah, you close up the video. Thank you so much for having me on. I so appreciate it. That's so much fun.
Oh, you're very welcome. Have a great day. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, see you soon, Mike. I'm sure we will.
All right, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, thank you so much for joining us as well. Be sure to check out Mika on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter at the links below. And if you would like to support her, please be sure to give her a follow. Following VTubers is a great way to support them. Also, special thanks to Fran, who does a wonderful job doing my art. A special thanks to all of my friends on Twitter. I wouldn't be here without you all. And most importantly, a special thank you to all of you for watching. Please like this video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. Feel free to comment below and let me know what you think. If you like my content, please subscribe and turn your notifications on. Until next time, fam, peace out.